Alrighty, so today we're gonna do the season preview of LAFC. In fact, today we're actually going to do the season preview of both of the LA team. We're gonna first talk about LAFC, and in the next season preview, which should be uploaded a little bit later tonight, we'll talk about their inner city rival and the defending MLS Cup champion, that is the LA Galaxy. Something that I'm pretty sure if you're an LAFC fan, it's gotta be very painful to live through seeing your inner city rival, of course, winning another MLS Cup. I mean, I know obviously this fan base is still high on winning their own MLS Cup a couple of years ago, but it's never a great feeling when you have to see your crosstown rival win another MLS Cup and basically once again give more bragging rights, saying that yeah, we won another one while you're still only stuck with the one MLS Cup just a couple of years ago. But that being said, this has been a very fascinating offseason for LAFC. And what's kind of fascinating is the fact that they're doing this thing again where they decided to do a little bit of a makeover when it comes to the roster, even though technically they don't need to do so. And this is also not the first time that they've done this, and this is also not the first time that John Thornton has done this before. We've seen him decided to make changes in terms of the roster, even though they technically don't need to do so. They could have just kept their current core and see how it goes. And I get the model of you always need to change things up and maybe trying to upgrade so you can continue to stay sustainable. But at the same time, it is a bit of a risky proposal. So how many changes you made and hope that every time when you decided to make do a makeover in the roster, it will work out just as well as the previous roster did for this team. But that being said, last season they finished in first place with 19-7-8 record, finished with 64 points. Obviously, they finished first literally on the final day of the season, and really in the final second of the season as well. Because if it wasn't for the Galaxy losing to the Dynamo, giving that late goal, LAFC would have been finished second in the standings. And they of course got eliminated by the Seattle Sounders in the second round. Originally, them finishing first, that looked like it was a huge advantage because they were going to have home field advantage throughout in the Western Conference, and really they probably could have had home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs because of how the Eastern Conference just completely collapsed after the first round with all the upset that was happening. But it was not meant to be. They lose to the Sounders. The narrative finally come to an end where the Seattle Sounders simply cannot beat LAFC in the last couple of meetings, but also continue that narrative of this LAFC team of not winning in big situation that they've been pretty much been the case ever since day number one. Their last playoff appearance was 2024. Their last playoff series win was also 2024. The current head coach, Steve Cherundolo, he's been there since 2022. Their GM and only GM in club history is John Thornton. He's been there since day one, and for the most part, he's done a really good job with this team, even with the approach that he has with this team to stay competitive, which is kind of decided to do a little roster turnover for Real. Might not be popular within in the fan base. It's still for the most part worked out relatively well and keep this LAFC team to be a competitive team throughout their time in MLS. I mean, really, besides that one season, I think it was 2021 when they didn't make it to the playoffs. That was really the only year I can think of LAFC not being one of the top dog, or at least being a playoff contender in the Western Conference. Now, looking at some of the transfer that they made, so again, with the way that they did a bit of a roster makeover, there was going to be some signings that they were made. But first of all, they of course signed Perry as a homegrown, and they also re-signed Aaron Long, which was a big discussion throughout this off season whether or not if he was going to walk, and if he is going to walk, there was going to be an endless amount of teams that is looking trying to sign him as a free agent. He's probably the biggest free agent target if LAFC decided to let him walk. But nope, they decided to re-sign him to a contract extension. And given how they lost Jesus Muro this offseason as well, that's a huge re-sign, and that they would have lost Aaron Long as well. It would have been a complete different backline than what we saw last season, especially in the center back partnership that is. They also got Jeremy Abosi as a free agent after the Quakes decided to not re-sign him. They also re-signed Marlon as well, and then they made a couple of transfer by first getting Odin Thiago home as a loan from Celtic. Then they also got Igor Jesus, a transfer from Estela de Dora in the Portuguese second division. And then recently, this was definitely one of the bigger signings that they have made, getting Mark Delgado from the Galaxy and kind of follow the same footstep as what John McCarthy and Raheem Edwards did, playing for the two LA team that is. They also got Kosi Tafari from Dallas, and then they also signed Yaya Boa off of free agency. So another thing about LAFC, and especially with John Thornton, he's not afraid in terms of making some blockbuster move when it comes to within the league, and most of the time it actually has worked out well, and that's not a big surprise because when you are a team and you make these inner league kind of signings. And if you're signing these guys that have been proven to be MLS talent, like a Mark Delgado, like Cozy Tafari, and like a Yaya Boa, something tells me they won't be that badly off when it comes to the reshape of roster that they're facing this off season. But that being said, looking at players that is no longer with this team, and there are definitely some notable names. First of all, they decided to transfer Bajam Darbo to Bayern Munich is one of the youngster from the LAFC academy that is going to be going to Bayern. Then they also declined the option of Eric Duenas, who's now with the Houston Dynamo. They also declined the option of Kai Kamara. This was kind of an interesting one because I would have assumed they would keep him another year. Though I guess the signing of Jeremy Abovasi, I think that kind of makes sense in terms of this. I mean, not saying that Kai Kamara can't still do it. He still can't do it in a high level that is, but certainly getting Jeremy Abosi as a replacement, that's not a bad replacement too, especially if Jeremy Abosi can rediscover the form that he had a couple of years, even with the Quakes when he was doing very well. Then I think you could even say that it could be an upgrade to Kai Kamara that they lost this offseason. They also lost Luis Mueller, who has his option declined. They also declined the option of Jesus Merrill. That's definitely a big one and a big decision that they had to make in terms of that, whether they decide to lose one of their starting center back. They also declined the option of Tommy Musto and Diego Rosales, and then they also decide not to renew the contract of Elie, who is now oh god, where did Elie go when this season? I'm actually kind of blanking where he actually went, but yeah, that's definitely what one that is a bit of a loss, especially when it comes to the leadership that Elie can bring to a roster. They also declined the option of Carlos Vela, which last season bring back Carlos Vela. That was such a weird kind of signing, and I get it. It's for the nostalgia, and he is going to be a guy that when he does retire, I have a feeling down the stretch that they're going to build some statue in front of BMO Stadium. Carlos Vela is definitely going to be there because he's really the original superstar for this LAFC team and a fan favorite as well. It was just kind of weird when they decided to bring him back, and he only like made one appearance. I think it was off the bench, that is, and didn't really make as big of an impact as they were hoping he was going to do. So yeah, they now officially let go of him. That saga of him, whether if he's gonna stay or is he gonna go, that finally came to an end this off season. They also trade Thomas Angel to San Diego FC earlier this season, and they also transfer Omar Campos and Mateus Bogut, both of them going to the Cruz Azul. And again, those moves were kind of questionable considering, they didn't necessarily need to sell both of those players. Well, maybe Omar Campos. Matej Bogusz, that is one that is big, and especially with how he alongside with Bouanga really carried the weight of the attack. That is a huge loss on the attack, and the goal scoring that they're going to be missing this season for LAFC. But at the end of the day, I think they only did it mainly because they knew that the offer was too good to be true. And when they only got him for only $1 million and you able to make a big profit of that, you would absolutely take it, and that's what LAFC did. Now, looking at the first 5 game of the season, so they have their season opener against Minnesota United, and as a Minnesota United fan, I am very scared about that game considering that LAFC has not lost a season opener in their previous 7 seasons. They actually have the record for the most consecutive win in the season opener at seven apiece, and looks like it could be eight apiece, depending on how this game, of course, turns out. I mean, Minnesota, they do play LAFC hard at times, but not at BMO Stadium. That is, I think they only won once against LAFC at BMO Stadium on the road. Then they play against NYCFC before going on the road to face against the Seattle Sounders, before playing against Austin FC at home, and then facing against Sporting KC on the road. So not an easy start to the schedule for LAFC. Looking at the back end of the schedule, they play against the San Jose Earthquakes on the road. That game is at Levi Stadium, and it's weird that game is that late into the season being played at Levi Stadium. I mean, I know the last couple of years the Quakes have played LAFC at Levi Stadium. It's kind of almost like similar to a tradition where the Quakes play the Galaxy at Stamford Stadium. But yeah, it's kind of weird that they decided to do it so late in the season. And that game, not only is not going to be easy for LAFC, but LAFC have still not beaten the Quakes at Levi Stadium. They don't always look comfortable when they play against them at Levi's. But then they play against Real Salt Lake before going on the road to play against St. Louis. Then they play at home against Atlanta United. That could be a heck of a matchup, consider how much of the moves that Atlanta has and look like they could be a contender in the Eastern Conference. And then they finish the season by going on the road to play against the Colorado Rapids. Looking at the strength of this LAFC team, it's got to be the top end starting 11. So the top end talent is still there for the most part, even with the makeover that they have in the roster. And when you look at this starting 11, when LAFC can put out their best starting 11, it's easily one of the best in the league. And they definitely can go toe to toe with the rest of the league, and it's been proven for the past couple of years. The weakness I would say is definitely the depth. I mean, you could also say chemistry as well because when you decided to remake the roster, it takes times for these players to get to know each other and form some sort of chemistry to do so. But I think depth is kind of a bit of a concern. I think defensively that is kind of the problem that they had, and they had that problem last season as well, where I remember early in the season they were very short when it comes to their depth chart. They really didn't have a lot of players. They didn't sign as much as they should have. Eventually they did and that kind of helped them. But and it feels like they I don't think they're in that of a desperate conundrum as they are heading into this season. But on the defensive side, they are a little bit short on that, and that maybe an area that they might address, and even in the midfield as well, especially with the pieces that they lost this off season. So the three big question for this LAFC team: how will the reshaped midfield look, and will it be just as good as the last one? So gone, that is Ilie Sanchez and also Edward Atuesta on this team, and now you potentially could have Mark Delgado being there alongside with Timothy Tillman, and maybe Odon Thiago Holmes. Well, actually, I also forgot about Igor Jesus. He's probably going to get a bulk of starting minutes as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how they will do. I do trust that it will be pretty good, especially I think getting Mark Delgado from the Galaxy, that is an absolute steal, and one that I'm kind of surprised the Galaxy decided to let him walk, especially to your biggest rival as well. You usually do not see these kind of interest league signing between rivals. But yeah, that's a big piece that LAFC of course got, and especially Delgado played a really big part to that Galaxy team in the midfield, especially when they did not have Ricky Puig. But the other thing that is the big question is the defense as well. So again, it's their defense is also been a reshape as well. Gone are the likes of Jesus Muro and even Omar Campos, and now it seems like the backline partnership. I think Marlon is probably going to get more minutes. I think he was very impressive down the stretch, and I think he has earned those minutes in terms of maybe be a starter. Bring back Aaron Long. He's still going to be a big part of this team. Though I will say, as much as I say Marlon could get some minutes, I also forgot about Kosi Tafari as well. Again, another big piece that they bought from FC Dallas. I know he had a bit of an off season last year. I mean, that entire Dallas backline had an unusual off season after it's been solid for the past couple of years. There's no doubt he's going to be back to good form, and all of a sudden that back line could be just as good as what we saw in the last back line for this LAFC team. And then the last thing is about the attack. So as much as I think the attack is probably the strongest point of this team, there is definitely still the question: will they get enough to put some weight off of Bouanga's shoulder? So there's no doubt Denise Bouanga is the headline story of this LAFC team. He's going to be the guy that will score the large amount of goal for this team. But with them losing Bogusz, which is a lot of goals that they need to replace him, well, other guys basically steps up, and there could be a sense that that it could happen. The big elephant in the room is got to be Olivier Giroud. I know no last season some people say that Olivier Giroud didn't had a bad season. I don't think so. I mean, when you look at the numbers, he really didn't made a lot of impact. And this is also where getting Jeremy Obovasi is important as well, because if Giroud isn't playing very well, and at least in terms of the goal scoring that is. You can slot Jeremy Abovasi in there, and he can have just as a big impact as when they decide to put Kai Kamara in that spot. And then let's also not forget about the wing backs as well. They got some really good wing backs on this team, especially when Steve Cherundolo likes to play the five at the back system. Guys like Ryan Hollinshead, he's been popping up in terms of scoring goals throughout this team in the last couple of years, and then even Yao Yaboa as well. Another great signing that they have picking off a free agency, and he's a good guy that he's gonna trying to take advantage of being on a good team again. It's very unfortunate to see your boat kind of drop down the pecking order of what was a really stacked Columbus Crew team, but now he's getting another opportunity to play with another good team as well. And I think this is also an example of a player being able to play for another team, and just also kind of explain the embarrassment of riches that the Columbus Crew has with the way that even some of the depth players can maybe be a starting 11 caliber kind of player for another team, and that maybe it is another area that they could definitely find the goals. I mean, there's no doubt this attack is really good. I think it's not just going to be basically Bawanga. I'm pretty sure every single team is going to be watching Bawanga, maybe even double or even triple team throughout the season because of the threat that he brings in. But that also opens up some spot for other players, and that's kind of where LAFC can be very dangerous heading into this season as well. Now, the expectation of this team, I mean, it's pretty easy. It's MLS Cup and trophy. This team has always had a high expectation, and I think this season, after what they saw with the Galaxy winning MLS Cup, I think the burning desire of winning that trophy again is definitely higher. I mean, it's already pretty high after, as I said, must be painful seeing the Galaxy win another one, and then in the previous year losing in MLS Cup. That is against the Columbus Crew, failed to try and repeat. They're definitely looking to trying to reach that mark again, and also not to mention trophies as well. Other competition they're gonna definitely take seriously as well, especially the Concacaf Champions Cup. That is a trophy that definitely allured them as well, because there's been way too many times that they self destruct themselves in crucial moment, and that's also kind of where the narrative of LAFC come, where this is a really good team, but when it comes to big moment, they just aren't able to deliver when it matters. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for this season preview of one of the LA team, that is LAFC. Again, I'll do the season preview of the defending MLS Cup champion, that is the Galaxy, after finish recording this video, and also upload a little bit later tonight. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. If you're an LAFC fan, what do you think is the strength, the weakness, the big question, and also the expectation is for this team heading into this season? But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.